Introductions. My name is Christina Domian, and I'm an Inclusive Pedagogy Fellow at CTRL, and I also teach at SPECS. I mainly teach international students, and I'm also teaching complex problems. And let me introduce you to MJ.
Hi, I'm MJ. I'm working with Christina and Albert at the ELTA under SPECS, English Language Training Academy. Nice to meet you all.
And then we have Özge.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you here, and then a part of English Language Training Academy at American University. Nice to meet you all.
And then we have Albert.
Hello, I'm Albert Van Landet. I also work in ELTA with my 3 colleagues here.
So this morning we are going to talk about seeing diversity, equity, and inclusion in a new light. There's a document that you can see right here that has been added to the August workshop website under session materials, so you can access it whenever you want to. I can also put the link in the chat box for easier access. And so our plan this morning is to achieve the following objectives right here: to explore a new site created for AU faculty about integrating tech tools that promote active participation in either in-person or online courses. The second objective is to understand how the integration of tech tools including assistive technology in education can lead to greater engagement and the inclusion of our diverse learners. The third objective is to learn how structured discussions based on tailored Cornell notes can boost critical thinking, promote student contribution, and ensure that every single one of them participates in a small group or open class discussions. And the fourth objective is to identify ways to use digital storytelling in courses so that students can use multiple skills in order to demonstrate knowledge and skills acquisition. Let me just remind you that the phrases that you can see bold-faced, they actually come from the faculty manual, and they are located under teaching effectiveness. So after this session, if you decide to go with some of these tech tools or some of these techniques, some of these pedagogical practices, next time when you fill out your reappointment application, you can actually include them under teaching effectiveness as evidence of your teaching effectiveness. So there's that. So this morning, I'm going to start with showing you this new CTRL site that I designed, and then MJ will focus on some tools, some free tools that fall under the assistive technology and how she uses and helps her students comprehend text better. And then we have Albert, who will talk about the role of information literacy and reading skills in class discussions and how technology can actually be helpful to achieve that goal. And then Özge will talk about how digital storytelling creative tool can actually help students demonstrate knowledge and skills acquisition. Finally, we're going to have a question and answer session, so you can tell us what you want to know and how we can help you. And I encourage you that after listening to us and browsing through this site, once you start using some of these tips, maybe you can send us a video and just tell us how you have been using the successes that you have with your students, just any feedback, something that we can share with the rest of the faculty here. So let me start by talking about how to navigate this site that you can find on the CTRL website, or how to navigate this page that I created. You will find 9, let me just switch to the presentation mode. It's probably easier to see that way. You can see actually 9 tips right here. There's something about mind maps, there's something about assistive technology, there's something about vlogs or video blogs, sketchnoting one-pagers, infographics, note-taking, participation, and podcasting. So there's a little bit of everything. There's also an orientation video that you can see at the bottom, and once you play it, you can find this sort of an overview of this site as well. You can always see the references. So if you want to know more about each tool or pedagogical practice, you can just take a look at the references that I have relied on. So assistive technology is very important, and this is exactly what MJ will be talking about and how she uses these tools. So on this site, if you see anything underlined, it means that it's hyperlinked, and you can just click on underlined words. For instance, in this case, they will take you to the website of these tools, and those pages will tell you how to add them onto your browser, your internet browser, or how your students can add them to their internet browsers and use them. Typically on each page, you can see a video in which I explain why it's worth using the tool and how to. And whenever you see something like, like this, view more details, it means that there's additional information. For instance, in this document, I typed up the pros and the cons using some of these tools. Of course, the list of pros is always a lot longer than the others. So there's a lot of additional information for you. And of course, if you always need more, you can just reach out to me and we can have a Zoom call about it. If you take a look at the mind maps, for instance, once again, at the bottom of this site, you can see the underlined hyperlinked student mapping sample. So that's where you can actually see what students have done. The grading rubrics, those are samples. And here you can see the advantages. I wouldn't want to say disadvantages of using maps. I would just say the caveat is found right here, so that you know what to look out for and what to consider before assigning a task that requires students to do mind mapping. Here you can see the steps, 1, 2, 3. Of assigning vlogging, and vlogging or video blogging is a great tool for metacognition or to increase self-efficacy. You can also add journaling to assignments as well, or to the process itself. And so just, take a look at the description of these steps that you would ask students to follow. And at the bottom, once again, you can see student samples, grading rubrics, templates, anything that would help you implement such tools and pedagogical practices into your courses. The fourth tip here is to assign sketchnoting one-pagers. And once again, you can see the advantages and what to be careful about. Something that I keep emphasizing is when you assign sketchnoting one-pagers, just make sure that students are not graded for their artistic skills. Everything else, yes. It's a great tool for synthesizing course text and show skills or information students have obtained, or just providing a quick review as well of a module, a weekly module, for instance. But so more information is once again on that site. If you haven't assigned infographics, it's similar to sketchnoting. Once again, it's a great tool for synthesis. Students typically like it. Once again, the goal is not to be artistic or grade those skills, but to grade the ideas, the in-text citations, the reference page that goes with it, and the paraphrased information that students present on infographics, and just visually appeal to the reader, and the reader is not just you, but the other students and the class as well. More information is under the hyperlinks. Now, participation is a very tricky thing to assess and to document. And so there are some tips here on how to document and how to assess oral participation or written participation as well. If you haven't used a tool called Padlet, I highly recommend it. And so you can see more details and tips on how to implement that tool amongst others on this site. I know that there are a lot of workshops and talks about discussions, synchronous or asynchronous discussions. Here you can find information, and you can see how I organize and stage discussions in my courses. Albert is actually going to talk about how he approaches discussions and how he structures the discussions in his classes. But once again, there are templates, grading rubrics, and assignment descriptions right here on this page. And of course, a lot of information in the form of references that follows. There's podcasting. If you haven't tried podcasting, it's actually a really fun thing to do. It's almost like writing a research paper, but students do it as a group. I mean, they can do a solo podcast as well. It's up to you how you assign it. So again, advantages and the caveats to consider. And finally, we have one more, and that's note-taking and information literacy and source integration skills. If we want to prevent those academic integrity violations, then maybe this is something that we can start some courses with. And if students are aware of integrating sources well, and if they know about information literacy, digital literacy, and they have good note-taking skills, perhaps those violations can be prevented. One last thing to consider. This is something that I recently started doing, and that's putting together course orientation videos. So you can put together 4 or 5 minutes long course orientation videos in which you perhaps record a slideshow of the highlights of your Blackboard or Canvas course site, and perhaps the highlights of the reading materials or guest speakers that you want to include in your course. And there are 2 samples here for you to watch. So if you want to do something similar, what I have done, if we have time at the end of today's session, I can play one. If not, you can actually see this on the last page of this site. And so once again, you can access this site on the CTRL website. And it's called ESL Learners in Undergraduate and Graduate Courses. So once you click on this link, if you scroll down, it's under Trending Resources, and you click and you open the slideshow, and then all the information is right there, and just feel free to browse through. If you have any questions, let me know and I can provide more explanation. And at this point, let me stop sharing, and MJ will take over, and she will talk about the assistive tools that she uses in her courses.
Sorry. Hi, my name is MJ, and I'd like to talk about some useful Google patches and apps. Okay, let me just share the screen first. Okay. Well, there are many apps and then Google patches available, and well, thanks to Christina, I'm so grateful to be part of this team and to present today. There's a kind of mentoring system in my department, and I want to say I'm really grateful for those mentors so far, because yeah, I learned a lot from them. And yes, Christina is one of the, I think, the most I think what can I say, the nicest yes, mentors who offers all the yeah, useful apps and yeah, information for teaching students. Well, just let me talk about a little bit about my class for the background knowledge. My class is reading and vocabulary. Well, last summer it was like that, and before that, and I used to teach, academic discussion and AU in the Word classes. Well, all the classes included, what kind of a discussion, academic discussion, and I actually usually read a news article every day. Hopefully. And well, for students, they had to make a presentation and a news article. The reason is that these international students, first they, I think, well, improve their practical language skills, but afterward, they need to figure out the academic languages and cultural background knowledge. So to acquire those things, I think in a newspaper or news article reading is one of the most effective ways. So I tried to read the newspaper every morning, and required students to make a news article presentation every week. They took turns. However, there were too many distractions, for their preparation process. For example, advertising, and it was definitely hard for them to read even one news article. And well, they had a lot of barriers, like too many words to check, for example, pronunciation. And even when they make a presentation, they couldn't explain some words with the right pronunciation, or to explain the article, they had to often paraphrase, but it was hard for them because they were struggling with the synonyms too. So I wanted to help them out because I used to be there too. So I asked Christina, and I've been to her workshops, and yes, found out some useful Google patches which are free, and you can just with a Google and download, and it's gonna be just well shown on the Google toolbar. So a Mercury Reader was one effective way, okay, because it's an extension. You can just click that rocket symbol, an icon, and well, if you click that image, then you can just read only the text, without any advertisements. And yes, well, even in the class, okay, you can read in a news article together, without being bothered, by all the advertisements. And definitely, it's much easier for students to understand their own news article. So let me just show you the first. If you see on the left side, then it's yeah, full of advertisements. I think if you open up a news article, I mean, you want to just read a news article, but yes, you get all the advertisements. And where is the news article, right? So once you click that, with the rocket shaped one, image one, you only get the clean, text only, the article. So that was so useful for students and me. And right after that, announce file. Yeah, it had some robotic sound, but still, with the Google patches, there are many Google patches, for this kind of thing, but I think that this is one of the most effective ones because it reads right away, okay, the news article. But I recommend right after using Mercury Reader, you'd better use that, because if there are too many advertisements, then it's not gonna read because it's getting confused too. Not only me, I think it Announcify this patch too. So we need to be kind to this tool as well. So it reads right away. So well, and well, it's immediate. So immediately done. So when the students get comfortable with that. And well, I think to know about these tools, instead of explaining, maybe practice is the best way. That's what I learned from CTRL too. So let me just yes. Start using this kind of thing, okay? So if you just Google, okay? I think everybody has a Google. You just, with a type Mercury Reader, then you're gonna find a Mercury Reader from Google Chrome. Since I downloaded already, it is asking me to remove, but I don't want to remove that, but I just wanted to show you, how it goes. It's the same with Announcify too. You can just Google that way, and it just it shows you from the first page. So once you install it, you're gonna see these well, this kind of list of extensions. And yes, if you use Mercury Reader, okay, I just added it here at the toolbar, and let me just show you. For example, yeah, this is just one of the news web pages, and yeah, you wanna probably read one of the news articles here.
MJ, I think that your screen is frozen, or it might be frozen.
Oh, okay, let me. So
it's
from
still on the. It's still on practice is the best way. So we can't see, or at least I can't see.
Okay. So can you see this one then?
As business moves forward, we're all changing the way things get done, like how we redefine collaboration.
So can you see the CNN page now?
No.
No? Okay. then I think, let me just stop sharing and then we'll do it again.
Yes,
Okay.
I think that would probably work. Yeah.
Okay, so let me just start sharing the Google Chrome. So from the beginning, I think I know, well, yeah. So for the practice, again, if you go to the google.com, you can just type Mercury Reader. Okay, it just comes up from the first page. And once you click it, you're gonna see the extensions list, and I chose in the Mercury Reader. So since I installed already, it's yes, like that. But well, you're gonna see, like install. Okay, so once you click that install message one, then you're gonna have it. I mean, this rocket image one. Okay, so I have a full list of extensions here I'm using. And yes, I added this Mercury Reader, the pinned, and yeah, this one is announced file I pinned too. Then you're gonna see them here. So for example, if you wanna do, okay, read an article with a student, okay, let's go to just with a random website like a CNN.com. There are so many news articles, but just let me just choose one article like this, and be careful. I think some yeah, videos from the news article, I think web pages, they have some advertisements, so you better be careful. If they haven't any advertisements, I think you better just yes, wait. And I think it's gonna start some advertisement soon, so let me just wait.
I'm David Culver.
Okay.
In Wuhan, China.
Okay, so this is another kind of thing, I guess. So let me just stop that video and activate that Mercury Reader. Okay, the original article is shown like this. Can everybody see that? Okay, so what this is in the Dr. Gupta's in the article. And yes, it's just clean, without any advertisements. You can just, read. Okay, so it's easier for students to read the article because they're not going to be distracted, and also for teachers too. I mean, if you want to read an article in class, I recommend this way. And for Announcify, since I pinned it here, you just click it, then it is going to read.
You're now listening to Dr. Sanjay Gupta, Why I Am Not Sending My Kids Back to School, CNN. CNN, one of the questions I am getting more than any other, am I going to...
So this way it reads, okay? It sounds a little like, it's like a little robotic sound, but still it's very convenient. So I've used Announcify for that. And okay, so let me just now go back to the slideshow. So once you have this, yeah, these two, maybe you wonder about, the international students. I think they are quite good at reading news articles. Okay, and okay, and they probably have, yeah, probably they're okay with that kind of thing. Just well, probably you wanna see, yeah, their speaking ability too. So let me just yes, okay, talk about. Oops, I think okay, there is some a technical problem. Okay, it happens. But let me just do it with you again. So let's go back to the speech file one. So if you see the speech file one, that is more for their speaking ability, with a help assistant. How it goes. It reads news articles and reading passages with the speech adjustment. So you can make it faster or slower. So I actually like this one because it reads more like a human voice. And one of my students really liked this tool because he's an international student, and his pronunciation had a serious problem. and yeah, he wanted to improve, more, speech and, speaking related and with skills. So he really welcomed this one. And Rewordify, this one is suggesting, more easier expressions, for hard ones. So actually, with synonyms, for example, with the easier words. So what they don't have to look up, what word by word, for international students. So they can use this tool for any long articles, but the problem is that you have to copy and paste. And I think this is a good tool to know how to to paraphrase some well, I think for their speaking, I mean to make a presentation, they sometimes struggle with with the different words and what should I say instead of this word. So I think that they can learn some useful paraphrasing expressions. So before Rewordify, you can see the original text here, and after applying that Rewordify, you're gonna see some more expressions like instance of buying, instead of purchasing. Well, these are not that hard, but sometimes some hard words come up, and they are really helpful for students. And so for reasons, I think my students really liked these two. Definitely they like to read news article without any advertisements, and they like to listen and practice the listening skills with the Announcefy. But I think Speechify.com, Rewordify.com, these are just what I think right now they are separate ones, but maybe later Google will will adopt them like Google extensions. I guess that's what they do. And he said he would like to improve his speech related skills, well, with the help of these tools. So I'm going to just play a little bit of his talk, if you don't mind. Okay, so let me just play his talk. All right, let me share the screen. Okay, so instead of this, all right, not this. Okay, so sometimes the video, can you guys see the video? Okay, well, I think I will just share the screen again with you. I guess it really likes my PowerPoint. So let me just stop my Google web pages, and instead of that, let me play the video for you. Okay. All right. So this is my screen, computer screen. And yes.
I think I will, I'm more like Speechify.
Okay, why do you prefer the Speechify?
I prefer Speechify. I think all like us, like for the children, and the pronunciation have some problem, and I think it is more useful and better to us to start pronunciation.
Okay, so you
speech.
So for your speech, better speech, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in class, we somehow checked this one yesterday too, right?
Yeah.
And now I remember.
Rewordify is also great.
Okay, so
Rewordify can ask to more easier to understand some word. Yeah, and it can give up some examples to more easier understand.
Yeah, I think, you really worked on those two apps. I really appreciate that. And Chris, I'm going to give you an extra credit. Okay? So today, if you answer well, you're going to get an extra credit. Ooh, today's a party day, extra credit party day. Okay? So yeah, so Speechify and Rewordify, they're so useful, okay? You can make, with the text is simpler to read. So you don't have to worry about reading, some hard, with expressions. For example, whenever you're reading a newspaper article like me, in the morning, okay, good morning from CNN. That's what I'm doing, right? So today, they were talking about the mask and regarding the hand sanitizer. Some people may not know what is a hand sanitizer like that, right? And I don't think it's there is a hard word, but here, they actually pointed out this one. Okay, well, not very long ago. So instead of what? The recently, okay, they actually offered not very long ago, and instead of hand sanitizer, because if you just recognize this word the first time, then it must be hard. So what this one automatically changed it to germ killer, like that, with the synonyms, right? So I guess you definitely practice this one. And again, okay, so this is a part of my class, and I wanna just talk about keep talking about the other programs. So this is just when my students talk. So I hope you enjoyed listening to my students talk. And yes, you can recognize, this is an international student, definitely, his reading and writing skills are so good. He can read and write well, and I think, very academically ready, but the problem is that, he was not ready to speak instantly. And again, regarding the pronunciation and with the synonyms, he was not that confident too. So I wanted to help him out with these tools, and I actually often use the other tools too. Well, these apps are in the Google Classrooms, Grammarly, Kami. Recently, I'm working on it, and Screencastify, Flipgrid. What is good for your icebreaking and then the end of your semester to share some videos. And Kahoot, definitely, for your icebreaking, or when you start a day, Quizlet, quizzes, and the MindMeister. I think what Krishna used that kind of mind mapping before, but it's a web-based one, so you can use those apps for your students too. Well, just from time to time, you don't have to do all of these at once, but my philosophy is like yes, a good teaching is a good teaching. So if you want your students to get engaged, I think we need to try and practice more. I think what things, for this time, I think we can try more online tools, because that's what we can do. And I hope you're going to enjoy it, teaching online. And here's my suggestion to read, even in 1999, what they talked about distance education. So that's all for my part, and I'd like to thank everybody.
Thank you, MJ. And now it's time to listen to Albert talking about how he puts together these small group or open class discussions and how he plans using them in his courses.
Thank you, Christina. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, and for those of you who want to download the Google Slides, you can go ahead and do that right now with the QR code. So this is the role of information literacy and reading skills in class discussions. So we do a lot of prep work with students before they actually speak in class. Okay. I also have a Google Doc that has the materials that I'll be presenting today. Okay, so I have a problem where we need students to participate. They're getting graded, and then you come across silence. So getting upset with students are getting frustrated. So I have them do a lot of prep work before we actually make it to that conversation. The tools that I use are Cornell Notes, voice markers, turn takers, discussion journals, and vlogs. Okay, so Cornell Notes is just a systematic way of organizing notes when doing a reading assignment. So first, students gather information. I don't think there's really much of a need for me to show you all these videos. If you want to see them, you can watch them on your own. So students have to collect the title and URL. And then as they're doing their Cornell notes, they need to insert vocabulary and terminology. They need to make comments and ask questions. The notes themselves have been challenging for some of the students. I require that they paraphrase and that they organize their notes. And some students need work on their organizational skills. The summary in the Cornell notes, you can see that I give guidelines for how I want them to write their summaries. And you can take those out and insert your own guidelines. Okay, and then toward the end of their Cornell notes, they need to connect the dots. So this is where they're going to show that they actually understand the information, that they recognize what information is missing, and they think about it at a deeper level. And then students are required to finish with an APA citation, which if you've been keeping up with it, this has actually changed. I believe it changed in October of 2019. So before students do any assignment in my class, I give them the rubric. They know how they're going to be graded. And for the Cornell notes, I color code everything to make things quite clear. It's also easier when I speak with them. The red section, the blue section, the green section. When I first introduce Cornell Notes to my students, I give them a basic Cornell Notes version. Throughout the semester, I will change the Cornell Notes that I have my students use. So the second is the CRAP test. And I have a lesson on the CRAP test, and CRAP can be CRAP, Currency, Reliability, Authority, and Purpose, or CRAAP, as you see here. And then there's a link there to the CRAP test worksheet. This is just getting started. And I also introduce the CRAP test using Zapatopi.net with the Pacific Northwest Tree Octopus, where students are supposed to go through the website and use the CRAP test to determine whether or not this passes the CRAP test. And so far, what is typical for my classes is about half the students are able to recognize on their own at first that this is not actually an animal that exists in the world. I have links for everything in the copy of my Google Slides. So if you just download that, then you can have access to all of this. And then we prepare to have our roundtables. Now, when I first made this presentation, all my students were doing the roundtables in the classroom. So we all had the entire class working on this together. With the pandemic and the shutdown, I have decided not to have the entire class together. I split my class into groups, and I conduct a 30-minute roundtable with each of the groups. So students have to choose voice markers from a document that I give them with a bunch of voice markers on them. They need to use the quote sandwich or the ICE method. And they need to choose turn takers and a prep paper. A prep paper is just something that I have them fill out to show that they are prepared, that they come to the round table ready to speak about something. Okay, so voice markers help distinguish between perspectives. These are inspired by They Say, I Say. And students are required to choose 5 of these that they plan on using with the material that they have prepared for the roundtable. And right here, you can get a link to the voice markers that I have. The ICE method, ICE is an acronym: introduce the material, cite the material, and explain the material. So this really is a very powerful way. It tells students how to use the material in an academic setting. And I've noticed with a lot of students that this is actually very challenging. So it's good to introduce for at least my classes, English for academic purposes, toward the beginning of the semester and drill it over and over again. And there's a link to the document that I share with my students right there. I have found with this lesson that there is one challenge. When I have students practicing the ICE method with material that they are not familiar with. For example, this is just an example here. I do not actually use anything about Gen Z. So I choose articles that we've actually read in class. And then this past semester, I had students using the ICE method where they actually took issue with something that they were reading. Okay, and then students must use turn takers in order to interact with the other students in the round table. This is a requirement, and there's a link to the turn takers that I share with my students. And the prep paper, I ask what information they'd like to share, their APA citation, the name of the author, etc. Okay, and then I've got videos of students preparing this work, doing the CRAP test. You guys can feel free to watch them on your own. So a student taking notes here about John Allen Chau and North Sentinel Island. And then here's a round table where students have done all of this prep work. Now allow me to speak over the video. What I can say, before I used Cornell Notes and all of this prep work for the roundtable, it would be like pulling teeth to get students to actually participate, or you'd have only a handful of students that are vocal otherwise. By prepping them and having requirements that they do each of these steps, I get much wider participation. And the students have the rubric, they know what's expected of them.
Albert, I don't think that we can hear the video or.
Okay, I'm so sorry about that. And let me just say about the student that was speaking, he was, I had him 2 semesters, and there was a huge difference in his participation when I use this system of Cornell notes and preparation. So, I mean, it works. And then the rubric for the roundtable. So this includes everything that the students have worked on, that they've prepared, that they've shown me. They are graded. They know that they're going to be graded on each and every one of these points whenever we have a roundtable. Okay, I would have my students doing vlogs as a follow-up to these roundtables. And before the pandemic, they would meet together. After the pandemic, they can meet in breakout rooms or using Blackboard Collaborate, I would have them, I gave each group their own room that was always open 24/7 for the entire semester. Okay, and then a rubric for the vlogs as well. Okay, so that is it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now it's time to listen to Özge and how she asks students to use digital storytelling in her classes.
Okay, Kristen, can you please let me share the screen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Actually, I think, yeah.
Özge, you're co-host now, so you should be able to share screen.
Okay.
Thank you, Nancy.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. And first of all, I would like to thank Christina for this opportunity and for you being here as participants and presenters. It is such a pleasure. And I implemented digital storytelling during summer course. And I just thought that it will be a good chance, opportunity to use it during the pandemic and just give them a tool to reflect on these difficult times. And another reason was looking for something creative, something engaging to start the course, because the writing course starts with academic writing, essay writing, cause and effect essay writing. So I thought that it will be better to start with digital storytelling to connect them to the content, to course, and then to involve the learners in their learning experience, and then build good reports. So I will introduce the steps I followed with a brief review of introduction literature. Usually I started with these 2 stories. I show the students 2 stories, and then I ask them to compare them in terms of personalization. I mean, in which one they found my voice, in which one they could recognize real me. And then I share them the first story, this academic background, my professional background, and then this is the second story I shared with them. And then they told me that they found the second story more personalized, and then they could see the real me in it. So this kind of text, providing this kind of text helped them to see the difference between academic writing and also digital storytelling, the storytelling practice itself. And so they could see the differences, but at the same time, I highlighted the similarities, which I will focus on soon. And so just the definition of stories, they are as old as people, and they have always existed in our lives in different formats, in spoken or written ways. And then it's a very powerful tool to use to connect people. And in my practice, in my digital storytelling practice with my students, I used Animoto, a low-tech tool. I didn't want to overwhelm them with a sophisticated online tool first in the first week. Therefore, they use Animoto, and then it is free, first of all, and then it has very clear steps to follow. And I remember that they just created their first draft in 5 minutes. I mean, in terms of using the tool, it's the ease of using the tool. And then there are some other tools that you can utilize. Storyboard is one of my favorite ones. Unfortunately, it doesn't. It lets you to use it for 7 days trial. So it can be possible to integrate it. And of course, there are some other advanced tools the students will be willing to use through the end of the course when they feel themselves more confident. For example, Adobe Slate is one of them, and iMovie is another one, and Microsoft Photo Story is another tool that they can use. And this is, you can also find information about these tools on the website elearningindustry.com. And then just depending on your needs, the student profile, you can choose the one that works best. So, but I'm quite happy with Animoto. And students also, they gave positive feedback about Animoto. And then the implications of storytelling and digital storytelling on learning. So the students had the chance to focus on content without worrying much about the conventions, especially academic writing conventions. And then it's not easy to write in another language, and then caring about the grammar, the language use, thesis statement, organization, and all these things makes writing process daunting. So I wanted them to enjoy the process of writing. So it served this purpose. And then, of course, this digital storytelling encouraged them to write a very personal, emotional content because it is their tale they told. And they have the chance to edit, develop their text many times. And then so it helped them to understand the cyclical process of writing and then creating drafts. And because this is digital storytelling, they use the tools, the media such as audiovisual aids and their voice, the pictures, the videos, and then they realize that it's another way to tell their stories, not only the written form, not only their voice, but there are some other components of storytelling which enhance their stories. And another reason is I mentioned it at the beginning, but it lowers their affective filter and helps them develop a positive attitude towards writing. So I will, these are the skills included in digital storytelling. Multiple intelligences, higher order thinking skills. I will show some of the tasks which require higher order thinking skills. And sound and visual literacy. Project management, one of the tasks also require this. And creativity and inventive thinking also involved. And these are other reasons from the literature I found. To have a smooth transition, it is my one of my main reasons to start the summer course in a more relaxed, in a more personalized manner, and to involve them, of course, and then and also create a sense of togetherness. I also shared my story, and then they shared their stories, and then they show their stories to their peers. They got feedback. So this created a sense of togetherness, and then they realized that we all face similar difficulties. And these are the steps they followed, very similar to essay writing. They came up with an idea. I provided the ideas usually. I mean, for the pandemic, I provided a framework, some guiding questions, and then they did some research. I mean, they explored some other stories, digital stories. I shared my sample story as well. And they used MindMeister, mind mapping tool, just to organize their ideas, their stories. And this part they enjoyed most. They collected their pictures, the videos, and I wanted them to use their own pictures because to write, narrate these stories from their own perspectives. And they put it all together, and then in the last stage, they produce it, they publish it, they share the link on the discussion forums, and they receive feedback from me and their friends. And of course, with a rubric. And these are the elements of digital storytelling. So there is collage. It means you can add several pictures. And then there's a code. I wanted them to add a code. It can be in Chinese, as long as they translate it into English. It can be something that stuck into their mind, like a buzzword, like resilience, perseverance, or we are all in this together. I mean, that will remind them these times. And they narrated their stories. I wanted them to keep the soundtrack low so that we could hear their voices. And also I reminded them that the pictures also tell the stories, and then we need to give the audience some time to process the information before telling the story. And these are examples. The first story, this is my story. I called it Resilience Secretary. And this is a picture shared with by one of my friends. And then these are the instructions. They were supposed to describe their experiences, their thoughts, observations, and the kind of things that we cannot find in official documents, let's say the history books. And then I gave some examples, and then some guiding questions like a timeline, how it started, because their education was interrupted. They went back to China and the other countries. And so, of course, it has changed people's lives. And I wanted to see this from their perspectives. And the second story, it's totally different, a defining moment about an important decision they made in their lives. And it's like a reflective practice. They reflect on this moment and what they learned from this experience, and a conclusion, how did it change their lives? And another story would be like, This is a crowdfunding project, so I couldn't implement it because of time restrictions, and then academic essay writing because we were supposed to focus on 4 genres during summer course. But it can be set as an assignment, additional, an alternative assignment to students. So they would come up with a project, or they would identify a problem, and then they would figure out a solution for this problem, and then they need to convince the audience to support their project, get the fund. And another story, Picha Kucha, it means chit chat, and they will think about 10 experiences they would like to have in their lives, and then they collect an image of each one and create a presentation. They describe each experience very briefly, and then to create a sense of togetherness, a connection with their peers. Their peers are supposed to tell if they have similar aspirations in life, similar dreams in life, and comment on this. And finally, another thing, I usually integrate the language into creative, like writing or spoken production. So this is a tea time. It's a animated short film they watch, and then they share their views on how the future will change our lives, the interactions between people and the robots. And then the language focus was using it constructions. I wanted them to use them as they state their opinions. And then, of course, future tense. So it was the language focus integrated into a video lesson. And this is the rubric they use for their digital stories. It is usually applicable to each task, but of course, I feel the need to customize it for every task. And I want to share here not my story, but one of my students' story. Hopefully, if I can manage to. Okay, maybe I can open the link. And then, yes, new share. Okay.
I'm back in China and I'm very excited. I'm ready to board the airplane. I can't wait back to China. I need to wear a mask to protect myself. The health worker back letter wrote, "Welcome back home. I arrived in China. Yeah, I'm very happy. This airplane, I'm going to check if I have coronavirus. I'm a little bit afraid. The medical staff is very hardworking. The result is I am healthy. I am now going to the hotel to prepare for 14 days quarantine. This is my quarantine hotel. Looks good.
Oh, sorry.
During the quarantine time, my mother often gives me food. I miss Chinese food very much. My favorite Chinese food is Chinese noodle. I like it. But quarantine time is a little bit boring. After 40 days, my quarantine over, I'm back home. The line is 1 meter away from the safety distance. Small sticker in the elevator instead of the hand. Long time no see the cinema, I'm very miss. The children, I think, very boring at home. Finally, I hope the viruses quickly end and take off our mask and meet and hug the people we love.
So I can keep on sharing.
Yeah, I think you have stopped sharing now, so.
Yeah, it's just the last slide, I promise. So, wish I could share more stories, but I don't want to take too much time. And this is the students' feedback. And so it gave them a chance to write something they like. It included them in the course. And I found it more enjoyable than paragraph writing. And it is something personalized, adjusted my pace during the story. And some feedback about grammar. And then, so the pictures, the photos, they tell the stories. And as also highlighted by one of my stories, storytelling is better, creating digital stories. And then they didn't have any difficulties using the technology, the digital tools. And then they wanted to use iMovie or other sophisticated ones. And brainstorming on MindMaster, it helped me to organize my ideas. Of course, in addition to this feedback, their attitude was quite positive, and then they really enjoyed it. And I'm planning to integrate it in the following courses as well. So just a few things about other contexts that digital storytelling can be implemented. As a narrative essay, so it can be a way to introduce narrative essays because it also includes experiential personal writing practice. Of course, it has a different organization, but it allows students to express themselves in a creative and moving ways. It will be engaging for them. And they can also use it as a reflection tool on the course about their progress. And also it can be a first week activity to introduce themselves. In addition to video introduction, they can use digital stories to introduce themselves and also their culture. And another thing, another context where the digital stories are used is some non-profits, some organizations, they use it for social impact, to create social impact. And so the sky is the only limit, I think. So it can be implemented in any context. And then I believe that students really benefit from it and then they enjoy it. Thank you so much. And I think it is time for question and answer session.
Thank you, Özge. So if anyone has any questions, please let us know. You can either type here in the chat box, or you can just email us, just anything that works. And we can always talk to you about using these tools if you're interested. So if you ever decide to use digital storytelling, you can always reach out to Özge and she can probably give you a quick tutorial on how to implement that in your courses, or if you want to boost the participation in small group discussions, you can reach out to Albert as well. Or if you want students to start using these assistive tech tools, this could be, MJ could be your person, but of course, I can help you with all of these tools as well. And I think that you will find them greatly beneficial. And I believe that our time is actually up, if I'm correct. We used our time, but if you guys want to ask something, you can just let us know. Or like I said, you can type in the chat box or send us an email once you have any questions in mind. And Naziham, perhaps you can stop recording, or I can stop recording as well.
Yes. Okay, and if we're ready, I can, end the meeting too.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone.